The warehouse exploded behind them as Kang Min-ho pulled Esther Matina against his chest, her curvy body trembling, her wide eyes reflecting flames that matched the fire suddenly igniting in his dead heart. Something impossible, something dangerous, something that made him want to burn the entire underworld just to keep her safe. Welcome to Mafia Stories, where mafia bosses rule the night, power is earned in blood, and love is the most dangerous weapon. Subscribe and enter a world where bosses rise, hearts fall, and secrets destroy empires. The city of Seoul belonged to Kang Min-ho after midnight. His empire stretched through shadows and steel, built on fear and respect earned through blood. At 32, he ruled the underground with an iron fist, his name whispered like a prayer by allies and a curse by enemies. No one had seen him smile in 5 years. No one dared to look him in the eye unless summoned. Tonight, everything changed. Esther Matina shouldn't have been at the dockside warehouse. The curvy physical therapist had taken a wrong turn, leaving her late-night clinic shift, her phone dead, her instincts screaming danger as she stumbled into a scene of violence she couldn't comprehend. Men in black suits, guns raised, a shipment of something illegal being unloaded under flickering lights. Then the explosion. Min-ho had moved on instinct, tackling the terrified woman to the ground as fire bloomed into the night sky. Her soft body beneath his hard frame sent an electric shock through his system. Her jasmine perfume invaded his senses. When she looked up at him with those enormous dark eyes, full of fear and something else, something that saw past the monster to the man, his carefully controlled world tilted on its axis. "Don't move," he commanded, his voice rough as gravel. Esther's heart hammered against her ribs. The man above her radiated danger and power, his sharp Korean features carved from marble, his body a weapon barely restrained. Yet his hands were careful where they shielded her head, his body taking the brunt of falling debris. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Someone you should forget." But Min-ho knew as he pulled her to her feet and guided her away from the chaos that forgetting would be impossible. For either of them. The next morning, Esther tried to convince herself it had been a nightmare. She went to work at the rehabilitation center, treating patients with her usual warm professionalism, her curves hidden beneath professional scrubs, her smile bright despite the exhaustion pulling at her features. She didn't notice the black sedan that followed her. Didn't see the man in the penthouse across the city reviewing security footage of her face again and again, something foreign and terrifying taking root in his chest. Min-ho had built his empire on control. He controlled territories, controlled men, controlled his own emotions with ruthless efficiency. Yet he couldn't control the obsession taking hold. He pulled up everything about Esther Matina, 28 years old, physical therapist, lived alone in a modest apartment in Gangnam, no family in Korea, volunteered at children's hospitals on weekends. Innocent, pure, everything he wasn't. "Find out who she treats," he ordered his second-in-command, Han Seung-jun. "Where she goes, who talks to her, everything." Seung-jun raised an eyebrow but didn't question. When the boss wanted something, the boss got it, even if that something was a woman who had no business in their world. A few days later, Esther encountered him again. She was leaving the rehabilitation center when her bag strap broke, spilling her belongings across the sidewalk. Strong hands helped her gather scattered items before she even registered someone had approached. When she looked up, recognition hit like lightning. "You," she breathed. Min-ho's expression remained impassive, but his dark eyes burned with intensity. "You should be more careful. This neighborhood isn't safe after dark." "I work here," Esther replied, finding her courage despite the way her pulse raced. "I'm fine." "Are you?" His gaze traveled over her face, lingering on the dark circles under her eyes. "You haven't been sleeping." The observation was too intimate, too knowing. Esther stepped back, clutching her broken bag. "How would you know that?" "Because I haven't been sleeping either." The confession hung between them like a living thing. Esther should have run. Every instinct screamed danger. But something in his eyes, a loneliness that matched her own, a hunger that terrified and thrilled her, kept her frozen. "I don't even know your name," she whispered. Kang Min-ho. He reached into his jacket, and Esther flinched before realizing he was only retrieving a business card. If you need anything, anything at all. I won't need anything from someone like you. Someone like me, a ghost of something. Amusement, pain, flickered across his features. You don't know what I am. I know enough. Esther's voice trembled but held firm. I know violence when I see it, I know danger, and I know I should stay far away from you. Then why are you still standing here? She had no answer. Min-ho stepped closer, and the world narrowed to just them, the evening air charged with electricity. His hand reached up, almost touching her cheek before falling away. I'll have someone fix your bag, he said quietly, and arrange for a car to take you home from now on. I don't want. It's not negotiable. Authority rang in his tone, the Mafia boss surfacing. The area isn't safe. Men who work for my enemies patrol these streets, if they knew you'd spoken to me. Terror flashed across Esther's face. Are you threatening me? I'm protecting you. Min-ho's jaw clenched. From the moment you stumbled into my world, you became a target. I won't let anyone hurt you. You don't even know me. I know enough. He echoed her earlier words, but his held a devotion that made her knees weak. I know you volunteer with children who have survived accidents, helping them walk again. I know you pay for groceries for the elderly woman in apartment 304 when she can't afford her medicine. I know you're kind in a world that doesn't deserve kindness. Esther's breath caught. You've been watching me. Yes, no apology, no excuse, just raw honesty. That's not normal. That's not okay. Nothing about what I feel is normal. Min-ho's voice dropped to a rough whisper. From the moment I touched you, something woke up inside me that I thought died years ago. I don't expect you to understand. I don't expect you to accept it. But I will keep you safe whether you want me to or not. Before Esther could respond, he was gone, melting into the shadows as if he'd never existed. But his presence lingered like a brand on her skin, and the business card in her trembling hand felt like a promise and a threat all at once. That evening, a new designer bag was delivered to her apartment along with a driver's card and a simple note in elegant handwriting. Let me take care of you. M. Esther threw the note away 3 times and retrieved it 3 times before finally tucking it into her bedside drawer, hatting herself for the warmth spreading through her chest. She didn't use the driver, didn't use the bag, but she kept the note. And across the city, Min-ho sat in his office reviewing security footage of her expressions as she'd opened his gifts, analyzing every micro-expression, looking for any sign that she felt even a fraction of this consuming obsession that was slowly destroying his legendary control. His phone buzzed with alerts about territory disputes, rival gang movements, shipments that needed his approval. None of it mattered. Only her face on the screen mattered. Only knowing she was safe in her small apartment, probably reading before bed, maybe thinking about him the way he couldn't stop thinking about her. Boss, Seung-jun interrupted carefully. The Yakuza representatives are waiting. Let them wait. They've been waiting 2 hours. Then they can wait 2 more. Min-ho didn't look away from the screen where Esther was brushing her hair, her curves silhouetted against her bedroom window. Beautiful, innocent, his. Seung-jun recognized obsession when he saw it. He'd served Min-ho for 10 years, through gang wars and power struggles, and never once had he seen his boss distracted by a woman. This was dangerous. This could get them all killed. But the expression on Min-ho's face, something almost human, almost vulnerable, kept Seung-jun silent. Maybe some things were worth the danger. Maybe even monsters deserved a chance at salvation. The following week, Esther's resolve crumbled in small, dangerous increments. Fresh flowers appeared at her clinic every morning, white roses that meant nothing to most people but everything to those who knew Min-ho's signature. Her elderly neighbor's medical bills were mysteriously paid in full. The broken heating in her building was repaired overnight by anonymous benefactors. She knew who was behind it all. She should have been angry. Instead, her traitorous heart softened with each gesture, each proof that the dangerous man was thinking of her, caring for her in the only way he knew how. Then came the incident that shattered her resistance. Dr. Park Jin-woo was a surgeon at the hospital connected to her rehabilitation center, charming, successful, and increasingly interested in the beautiful therapist who treated his patients with such gentle care. He'd asked her to dinner twice. She'd politely declined both times, though she couldn't explain why. On Thursday evening, he tried again, cornering her in the physical therapy equipment room with his most winning smile. "Come on, Esther, just one dinner. I promise I'm not as boring as the hospital gossip suggests. I'm sure you're lovely, Dr. Park, but I'm not interested in dadding right now." Esther tried to move past him, but he blocked her path, his hand touching her arm. "Is there someone else?" His tone remained light, but his grip tightened slightly. "Because I haven't seen you with anyone, and a woman like you shouldn't be alone." "She's not alone." The voice from the doorway was death itself wrapped in silk. Min-ho stood there in a black suit that probably cost more than Esther's monthly salary, his expression utterly calm and completely terrifying. But his eyes burned with possessive fury that made the temperature drop 10 degrees. Jin-woo released Esther immediately, recognition and fear flooding his features. Everyone in Seoul knew Kang Min-ho's face, even if they'd never met him. We were just talking." "Were you?" Min-ho walked forward with predatory grace, and Jin-woo scrambled backward. "It looked like you were touching something that doesn't belong to you." "Min-ho, stop." Esther found her voice, stepping between them despite her own fear. "He didn't do anything wrong." Min-ho's gaze shifted to her, and the fury transformed into something molten and possessive. "He touched you. He made you uncomfortable. That's enough. You can't just threaten people for talking to me." "I can do whatever I want." His hand reached up, cupping her face with shocking gentleness even as his words remained hard. "Especially when it comes to protecting what's mine." "I'm not yours." "Aren't you?" His thumb brushed her cheekbone, and Esther's breath hitched traitorously. "Then why do you keep my note beside your bed? Why do you sleep in the pajamas I had delivered? Why does your heart race every time I'm near?" Jin-woo used the distraction to flee. Esther barely noticed, caught in Min-ho's gravitational pull, drowning in eyes that saw too much, wanted too much. "You're impossible," she whispered. "I'm yours." The confession was raw, unguarded. "I've been yours since the moment I pulled you from that fire, since you looked at me like I was a man instead of a monster. I know I'm not good enough for you. I know my world is violence and darkness and everything you stand against, but I can't stay away. God help me, I've tried." "Min-ho," his name on her lips sounded like a prayer and a surrender. "Let me take you to dinner," he said quietly, desperately. "One meal. Let me prove I can be more than what you fear." Every rational thought screamed that she should refuse, but Esther's heart, her foolish, hopeful heart, whispered yes. "One dinner," she agreed, and watched something like joy transform his severe features into breathtaking beauty. Later that night, Min-ho took her to a private rooftop restaurant overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. He'd reserved the entire space, creating an intimate bubble away from the world's prying eyes. Esther wore a simple black dress that hugged her curves, suddenly self-conscious under his heated gaze. "You're starring," she said softly. "I can't help it." Min-ho pulled out her chair with old-fashioned courtesy. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Throughout dinner, he revealed pieces of himself carefully, like offering shards of glass, dangerous but precious. He told her about growing up poor in Busan, watching his mother work herself to death, joining the gang at 15 to survive, rising through ranks built on blood and determination. "I'm not proud of what I've done," he admitted, his fingers inches from hers on the white tablecloth. "I've hurt people, killed people, built an empire on fear. But everything I did to survive and then to make sure no one could ever hurt me again." "Until me," Esther whispered. His eyes snapped to hers, vulnerable and fierce. "Until you could destroy me with a word, Esther. You already have more power over me than anyone in Seoul's underworld. It terrifies me." "I terrify you," she laughed, the sound almost bitter. You're the most dangerous man in Korea. And you're a physical therapist who dedicates her life to helping people walk again. His hand finally covered hers, warm and careful. You remind people that healing is possible. You give them hope. Do you have any idea how rare that is? How precious? Esther's eyes burned with unexpected tears. I'm not special. You're everything. Min-ho's voice roughened with emotion. You're everything good I thought I'd never deserve. And I know I still don't deserve you, but I'm too selfish to let you go. The confession hung between them, heavy with want and impossibility. Esther turned her hand beneath his, interlacing their fingers in a gesture that felt more intimate than any kiss. I should run from you, she whispered. Why don't you? Because when you look at me, I feel seen. Because you're gentle with me in a way that tells me you could be gentle, could be good, if someone gave you a reason. She met his eyes bravely. Because I'm falling for you even though it's insane. Min-ho stood abruptly, pulling her up with him, his control fraying. Esther. Take me home, she breathed. You're home. A few days later, Esther woke in Min-ho's penthouse, wrapped in silk sheets that smelled like him, sandalwood and danger, and something uniquely male. The night before played through her memory in fragments of breathless intensity. His mouth on hers, finally, after weeks of restraint, his hands worshipping her curves like sacred territory, whispered confessions in Korean and English as they'd come together with desperate tenderness. But the bed beside her was empty. Panic seized her chest. The familiar fear of abandonment, of being used and discarded, rose like bile. Of course he'd lost interest now. Of course the chase had been everything, and now that he'd won. She dressed quickly in last night's clothes, tears blurring her vision as she searched for her shoes. She needed to leave before he returned, before she had to see regret or dismissal in those dark eyes that had looked at her like she was everything. Esther made it to the private elevator, before strong arms caught her from behind. Where are you going? Min-ho's voice was rough with sleep and alarm. Home, leaving, it's fine, I understand. He spun her around, his hair mussed, wearing only black pajama pants, his expression fierce and hurt. Understand what? That I went downstairs to make you breakfast because I wanted to see your face when I brought it to you. That I was planning how to convince you to stay all day, all week, forever. Esther's tears spilled over. I thought you were done with me. Done with you? Min-ho cupped her face in both hands, his thumbs wiping her tears with infinite gentleness. Esther, last night wasn't about sex. It was about claiming you, binding myself to you in every way possible. You're not some conquest. You're my heart walking around outside my body. How could I ever be done with you? People leave, she whispered brokenly. Everyone leaves. I won't. He pressed his forehead to hers, breathing her in. I swear on everything I've built, everything I am, I will never leave you. You're stuck with me now, for life, longer if I can manage it. The conviction in his voice broke something open inside her. Esther threw her arms around his neck, and Min-ho lifted her easily, carrying her back to bed where he held her and whispered promises in Korean until her fears quieted. But outside the penthouse windows, across the city, his enemies were already plotting. They'd noticed the great Kang Min-ho's distraction. They'd identified his weakness. And weakness, in their world, was an invitation to destroy everything he loved.